Call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. All rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
And allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first is the reorganization of the board. You take over, is that correct? Okay.
I think you'd like to.
That's how we.
So they had done it before. She was sort of, because she was an Upton resident, where she assumed, and we don't actually have a formal test.
Right.
Typically, what happens is that the former, the chair sort of takes over as a officio type thing, unless, because we have 3 members, there could be a motion for the chair to chair it. So that makes it a little harder, and maybe just one of those things we separately just identify what to do. But I know from talking to Sandy, she was an Upton resident. That's why she became sort of like chair to run the meeting.
He could be chair.
Can I just make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we nominate Laura Hebb as chair.
And I will second it. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I appreciate both of your confidence
It's awesome.
and your appreciation of my somewhat wacky sense of humor.
Running as well as I've ever been part of it running.
I appreciate it. All right,
Call for a vote.
call for vote.
But time is I.
Maureen Cornell, aye.
Laura, how about? Nice. Nobody has to move.
The season.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate appreciate the trust. It means a lot.
Jack Maynard. I'm Valerie. I'm the assessor. And this is Jack Maynard. He's our intern for this semester. And he is an Upton resident and lives on Main Street. And his degree is in geography at Worcester State University. And he has a presentation on what he has completed this semester for the town of Upton. And Joe is pulling it up. There we go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So I've been the Upton GIS person since about mid-January. We had Mike Penko. He was kind of doing it on the side in his free time. And then I was lucky enough to come in and start doing it a little bit. So I kind of picked up the stuff that he hasn't been doing. Next slide, please. So I'll start with who I am. We'll go to the next one. So I've lived in Upton my entire life. I went to the MERSD school district, went to Memorial here, and that's where I started. And then Muck, I graduated in 2020. I started at Worcester State as a chemistry major. I found out pretty quickly I'm not a chemist. So I switched to geography, and I actually took to GIS, and that's kind of all. That's what the geography curriculum revolves around. So I concentrated in it, and now I'm graduating next week. Saturday is my please. So what is GIS? You may have not heard of it. It stands for Geographic Information Systems. You use a form of GIS all the time. If you punch in an address on Google Maps, you have used a form of GIS. It's just an interactive way to use maps. So there's a ton of different GIS softwares for different applications. For the most part, the professional standard is Esri ArcGIS, and that's what the town uses. The best way to describe it is Excel that can produce maps. So if you go to the next one, that's what I look at all the time. At the bottom there, you can see that's the part that looks like Excel. That is a list of all the tax parcels. And with that data, I can produce a map of Upton. And yeah, been looking at that for years now. It's been 4 years since I've been doing this. It's kind of set up a lot like Microsoft Word and stuff. So you can, it's some parts of it are intuitive, some parts are not. But this is what it overall looks like. Go to the next one. So what have I done for the town? So I moved Upton to ArcGIS Pro. Mike, who has been doing this, was mostly using ArcMap, which is created by Esri, the same company, but it's no longer supported. So they're not issuing any more updates. It's done, and it can't interact with the overall Esri ecosystem, which I'll get into a little bit later. So the first thing I did was I fixed the Hike Upton map. This is on the town website. It's a little interactive map where you can zoom in on our trails. It was broken when the town website was updated. You click on it and it would always just give you a 404 error. I was able to go in and fix that using ArcGIS because it just works with ArcGIS Online. I was able to put in all the new links that were correct. So now this works. If you go online, you can click on it and it will pull up a map of whichever trail you want to hike. I updated some of the trail maps themselves. In Peppercorn Hill, some of the trails were adjusted. So the old trail map did not properly reflect where the trails actually are now. I'm not sure who did it, but someone went with a GPS and they mapped it out, and I was able to fix the existing trail map. I did a property inspection with Valerie here, and we used Assess Pro and also another Esri product, Field Maps. It all interacts with ArcGIS. That's one of the field maps that I made for the Conservation Commission. It works just with your phone. You can pull it up on your phone and it'll show where you are, and you can make points. You can enter all sorts of data. I put an overlay of the wetland maps and the parcel borders, so you can see where you are and where wetland is on parcels. And then I created the field map for conservation commissions. So this, Mary wanted this to mark where vernal pools are. So that picture there is one that she did where she just went around the rim of the vernal pool, making points just using the GPS on her phone. This was the biggest project that I did. I created an open space map for the town. Our previous one was pretty old. I have this one from 2007. And you can see it's a little very outdated. Since this was created, the Conservation Commission has taken so many more parcels and protected them. And also the parcels have changed levels of protection. So this is the old one here. A new one isn't framed. You can kind of see it in the picture. It's not very well detailed. This is the new one that I created. You can see there's a whole lot more parcels that have been taken by the Conservation Commission. So yeah, hopefully this gets framed.
I think we can make arrangements.
Good. Next slide, please. Does anybody have any questions?
What is the way that people can access the maps?
So we do have a couple maps online. but it's mostly trail maps. We actually don't have any, like you can't access this or this online. We don't have. On the town website.
How do they access the trail maps?
The trail maps is going to be under Hike Upton.
Yeah.
You can see it there.
Under where, Jeff?
Hike Upton. If you search in Hike Upton.
Oh, Hike Upton.
Yeah,
Okay,
on
I've
Google.
been there, but I didn't know how I got there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only place that had District 9, actually,
Oh,
was the trail maps. I have a question though.
Yeah.
What, the Pro,
yes.
can I get access to Pro or do I have to keep going in the way I am through the state? Through like Beauty Mapper?
I think it would be a separate license.
Okay,
If you have an ESRI license, you can access all. of
no,
this.
when I go through it through Beauty Mapper and I just am thinking particularly around the wetlands and stuff, it was
Yeah.
upgraded and you did your work.
Yeah.
Is your work in Pro or is your work available to the town?
It's all in Pro and it's hosted on the town's hard drives.
Okay,
So it is on the network. It's just people from outside the town can't access.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great job.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
And congratulations on graduating.
Thank you very much.
And just point of order for everyone, we point information from either watching this or in the room. This is the website on, or this is the page on the town website, Hike Upton. And there's this link that was mentioning about interactive trail map, and then that will bring you to sort of the page he was referencing within GIS to then access those trail maps.
That's great, thank you. Great job.
Yeah.
Next, yes, trust fund reconciliation.
Quick, to give the board an update that I've been working with, RBC, which, handles most of our trust funds. And, these were reconciled annually up until just now. And we did the first 3 quarters of fiscal 25, and now we are gonna do them quarterly. So, with Paul's help, I built a spreadsheet that does some of the math, and then he made some consolidation reports that'll make getting the information from his report onto my spreadsheet easier, and everything funnels and it does the math and everything. So we should be able to, since we're updating it quarterly, it won't really be simultaneously because we have to wait for like that quarter to close and then, reconcile everything. But I'm sharing with him the town's activity in the trust funds, and then he made me better reports so that we have all the information together and can do the whole thing instead of doing it. I mean, it took a long time to do these 3 months, and I expect the first few quarters will take, it's a learning curve, whatever, it's all my thing. So I actually don't do it for 3 months. So you forget how you figured it out. But so it was just to let everybody know. I know Paul was here last week or the week before, met with the trust fund committee to let them know that we were just about done at that point. We had done the transfers in the bank, which now have happened. We waited till the first week of May only because we were running right around that time that part of it would be in April, part of it would be in May, and since we were kind of on a lag anyway, we wait. But the things. Just a quick to let you know, I know Joe had told me this has been an ongoing project to get it more.
Yeah, I mean, to have it, we're spending money for a year and we don't really know what's in there.
Right, yeah, you don't have the
It's always
interest.
better. And I assume it's like, and finances, as these two know, are not my strong point. But like, if you wait a full year to reconcile.
It just makes it worse.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine trying to do the
No.
amount of trust funds we have.
When we started, and then some of them roll, that interest goes and it automatic transfers and all that stuff. But when we first started looking at it, I was almost going to break it down to monthly. I'm like, it was just such a big project that maybe we should do it monthly. And then once that works, go to quarterly. But by the time we got to that point, it was after March, so we're like, well, I'll do the first 3 quarters and see how that works. But he was having an easier time getting consolidated reports quarterly rather than monthly. And anyway, so that's kind of what we settled on and in progress.
You get copies of all the requests that we voted.
Yes. Well, once they go through, basically at this point, I'm working off of the expense reports from accounting because anything that got paid out shows on that report. So I took the March reports from Kenny's reports and used this with because as he pays it, you know, the resident needs and things like that. So basically I got the figure for the first 3 quarters. It wasn't the, you know, I didn't need the detail. I just needed the
No,
bottom.
just the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that point, I mean, I usually see them anyway because I just get included on that stuff. But for the most part, I used the accounting reports as that the actual expenses that were paid out. So mostly it's just on our side updating the interest, but then between us and them, we're also transferring the funds as they were spent instead of waiting to year end. So there's really only a handful. We'll see, you know, fingers crossed, but I think it'll be much better.
I think we appreciate that. I think
Yes.
No, thank you for the work.
okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, endorsement of Coughlin Farm Road layout plan.
So I have milers over here, sort of just rec for the board. Once we approve the motion, we can just lay out both milers for the board's endorsement. That's nice. But go at least through the motion.
Motion.
I move that the board vote to endorse the layout.
Execution of contract for a Holy Angels structural analysis report. Joe.
Okay, so we're per our previous discussions on this matter. The board is to review revised scope of work that prepared by Criterion due engineers who in fact I've already reconciled with. And on the board, and we get them in.
Questions, comments?
To renovate the building.
Yeah. The detail.
27. Do I hear a motion?
Can I make a quick comment? Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
It just might make might be a little more efficient if instead of signing that document now, since we're not under a lot of pressure in terms of timing, that we spend a little bit more time talking about some of the practical repurposing of the space. So that when Criterion comes in, you can kind of guide them with, you know, this is, and I'm not talking about for an art center, I'm talking about just in terms of taking advantage of what's already there. And looking at the renovation within,
Linda, not to interrupt, but we've had extensive conversations on this for.
yeah, I figured,
And
I figured.
it will be done. So do I hear a motion?
Okay.
I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to execute the contract with Criterion Ducka Engineers in the amount of $34,825 for the Holy Angels Church structure cost estimate project as presented.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Linda, the whole thing is on the package, is in the package if you're looking.
I looked at it. Yeah, yeah, I read it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, next is execution of contract for Kiwanis softball field retaining wall.
Okay, so in the board's packet is the draft contract that also includes the scope of work prepared by CHA Consulting Incorporated. Just to back up, the dugout at Kiwanis Beach softball field is falling apart. It's partly a retaining wall. Last summer, we had to close it, rope it off. It is a safety hazard. This scope of work, which was developed with Dennis Westgate as well, will not only come up with engineering plans to redo the retaining wall, the dugout, but also there's landscape walls behind it that are in disrepair, and address ADA issues. So for example, the seating area that is behind the dugout, there is no accessible path. So this is going to do all the engineering work. Our expected timeline is to have some sort of cost estimate so that for special meeting, we can seek funding perhaps through CPC or other forces to get these repairs done.
Any questions?
Which is the contract? How much of the contract are you guys signing?
37,000.
Because we approved 43.5, so.
Correct. There's alternates that are identified as options. So town meeting included those costs of the options, but we won't know until they get out there, start doing some work. There's geotechnical work. Wanted to make sure the money was all set. So that's why this contract is only for 37,000. And if additional work is needed, we'll do an amendment for them that amount. Those optional costs are within Exhibit A, within the scope of work that were identified.
Any other comments, questions?
Nope.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to execute the contract with Clough, Harbor and Associates in the amount of $37,000 for performing the Kiwanis Beach softball field dugout and retaining wall engineering study as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next, 105 Crockett Road easement plan endorsement.
Okay, so I'll show you that this is what Brett and Maureen, you may recall, you first had discussions about this in early 2022 regarding allowing for and board can see it on the packet, but allowing for the sewer utility easement to cross Crockett. Cabot is on the lake side of the house. I mean, the house is on the lake side, and on the other side, they had additional land, and that's where the septic is. So that's where the easement is. Done last fall, for the board's packet, you had executed the easement language document. And this is just the endorsement of the plan to finalize that grant of.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Dennis is good with it.
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to endorse the easement plan for 105 Crockett Road.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Bill, your town manager report.
So, board has a hard copy of my May 13th town manager report. Now that we're past town meeting, could do a pretty comprehensive update on the projects that are in the town. So one of the main things just want to let the board know about is that we did go out to advertise for designer services for the DPW building project. Weston Sampson, who had done the original feasibility study, was the lone respondent for designer services. We're going to be scheduling, committee will receive the confirmation email later today, that we're going to be scheduling a meeting for May 20th to hear Weston Sampson's proposal and to really get started on that project. Also later on in the board's agenda, we're going to talk about our town council services RFP. We received 2 responses. You all see the improvements that were done here in Little Town Hall. These improvements that deal with audiovisual as well as IT upgrades were all paid for through a community compact IT grant. This was a joint application between the town of Upton and Mendon Upton Regional School District. The other portion of that grant is funding the upgrades to their meeting space with similar technology. You're going to start seeing work on Fisk Ave. They've been doing preparation work, hammering of drainage structures, and they're going to start with removal of trees mid-May. Last week's rain did have an impact as far as pushing some things back, but things are slated to start later on this month. Want to give an update because I finally heard from MassDOT on the Route 140 tip project. So first, last week I attended a public hearing with CMRPC to discuss the status of various tip projects in the region from 2026 through 2030. This, as well as the 140 culvert project, came up. The 140 culvert project, which is at the end of Prospect, that is on track for starting in 2026. And for the tip project, while the schedule had slid, it had slid as far back as 2029. This year, they moved it back to 2028. And one of the concerns was some of the cuts to federal dollars, whether or not that would impact this project. According to the state, because it's discretionary funding on the federal level, that is sort of under the knife. These are set by legislative formulas, and they do not see that the TIP project funding is going to be impacted. So they see that this project is still going ahead. I did just this afternoon receive confirmation from MassDOT District 3. They anticipate 75% design plans to be complete by July 28th. So the April deadline has long gone. They actually threw out a advertisement date of November 13th, 2027. So if anyone has that date on their bingo card, sure, been waiting for them.
I think I'm okay.
But we've now sort of lived this for 2.5 years. We'll see once we get past the 75%. They did agree to participate in a public forum scheduled after Labor Day and bring the engineers to present that so we can receive feedback, because it has been nearly 2.5 years since we really have put this out to the public. And realistically, there's not been a lot of changes. So I'm still trying to get changes, some plans to see what had changed since the 25% design. As part of that email communication, I also heard that the fixtures that the board had approved along with the Historical Commission, that MassDOT engineers would like the board to reconsider those. There was another one that the board had discussed. The reason is that the engineering department said that they're running into that fixture prematurely rusting, and that it's top heavy, that there's some issues that they're experiencing with recent installs on 146 and the Mildred area. So I confirmed with them that one, this was a serious request. They indicated yes, and I informed them that I'd work with the board to schedule a meeting so that we can. Other things that are going on in town, Lieutenant Michael Benjamin, who's been with the town of Upton for 33 years, has announced he is retiring effective June 1st. The water and sewer bills have been mailed to users and are due back on June 3rd. We have a presentation from the intern working with Valerie in the assessors department. She is also working to capture new growth, working with land use and special services on new permits that have been issued, as well as 5 new lots that were created off South Street, new road named Sawmill Brook Lane, and continued construction at Culver's Creek. ESS, Elder Social Services, COA, has hired a third driver, Jay Nolan. He completed his training recently and is on the road, already making friends with various Upton seniors. The Friends of Upton Seniors is now active. The board should have received an email, thank you, that Sue passed along from Steve Bracton and a group. They have already raised $3,000 so far. Social Services has also been very busy as they're finishing up heating assistance program applications, and they're supporting recreation with Kids That Play scholarship reviews. Back on April 30th, and I understand some of the board members were in attendance, 75 seniors and visitors attended the police spaghetti dinner. I understand that there was a lot of children of various officers and ESS staff that were also servers at that event. And one of the things that over this last year has been a new program is a pen pal program between seniors and students at Memorial School. On May 21st will be the first time these students and seniors are going to be able to meet each other. It's going to be at Memorial School, so a nice program. It's very well received through the year, and they're looking at continuing it next year. And Tanya, our ESS director, wanted to remind everyone that June is Alzheimer's Month, and we're working to coordinate with police department an update and educational program for Silver Alert program. The department is seeing increased participation at the Memory Cafe and increased staff engagement supporting local families. The land use department, a 17 lot subdivision has been submitted off of East Street, known as East Street Estates. That public hearing will be June 10th. Building is currently reviewing 12 active construction permits, and also they're fielding a lot of inquiries into accessory dwelling units. John Achu, our building inspector, has been conditionally designated conditional building commissioner by the state, the Building Officials Certification Committee. This is something that John has just been flying through getting licensed as a local inspector first. This is a next step that then really moves towards that, growing our own sort of department head level position and getting that position up in full capacity. Conservation Commission, as was stated during the presentation, has been out inspecting potential vernal pools. And also want to identify that people will start to see some equipment at 47 Main Street. That's the 40B Upton Apartments. They're doing some soil test data. They're not doing clearing, but there may be limited to get the equipment in. There's no firm date for construction. The only thing that for an update out of the land use department is that they expect the application by the end, no later than the end of summer. Library is continuing to see additional programs. They are now offering 3 programs in the afternoons: the chess club, crafting club, and gaming club. They are advertising part-time library assistants. And now that we're coming up on summer, HR as well as Rec is in the process of hiring and onboarding 50 seasonal employees to assist the Kids That Play summer program, as well as the lifeguards at the beach. For upcoming events, on Wednesday, 2 o'clock at the community center is a Johnny Cash tribute artist, Matt York, sponsored by the Upton Local Cultural Council. On this Friday as well, May 16th, the Upton Mendons Club is having their last senior dinner of the season, and this is the annual cookout. Hazardous Waste Day is going to be June, Saturday, 7th from 8 a.m. to noon at the Upton DPW. And my June coffee with the town manager will be Friday, the 13th of June.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Nope.
What's going on? Okay, public input. Do I have any comments from Lynn?
I just have a question. Are we planning on decorating the buildings for Memorial Day putting up the buntings that we used to do years ago and anything like that?
At this time, I don't have any access for any buntings. They haven't been purchased. That's something that has been discussed.
I think they were cleaned. Excuse me. I think that they were,
Do you want me to
yes,
address that?
yeah.
Somebody please.
Okay.
We only think we're in charge, Linda,
We only had 3 actual buntings that I cleaned, but everything else supposedly was thrown out. So we did start to work through a design plan of, okay, if we were gonna do this building, where would we put things and what would it cost? And I got to a point with that project that I felt like I needed to have a commitment of funding because as I was designing the buildings, I just was saying, this is getting more expensive and I would need a financial commitment. I think anybody who did this project would actually want to know that it was going to get paid for before they went any further. I have a very strong outline, but
I just wanted to know if there was an existing bunting that we would put over the front door of the town hall.
as far as I know, there's nothing.
Okay,
There's nothing, there's
I
nothing.
know it was in a bag and it was from talking to maintenance, so just curious. Thank you.
Paul, did you have a comment or?
Yeah, there's also the 75 or 80 flags that purchased
Yes.
last November that Bob Fleming, myself, and a couple other people had placed around the perimeter of the common, and there's lights that go with them. Last time they're down behind the stage down here. And you talk about putting them there, but you get the festivities on the common, which may not,
Yeah, they.
which may
did a
interrupt
great
the-
job of bringing the common, but we all walk onto the common for the Memorial Day ceremony, so it may not be feasible.
well, it'd be nice if we could put
We
them
could
at
put
least
some of them.
some other place. Again, this was all Bob Fleming's idea. He was the one that came through with it, and
We can find,
Can we put a couple of them? Sorry.
yeah, I was just gonna say. I think we
Like the
can find
monument
a
in the
couple.
back where we have like, where everybody stands, if we just have 2 large ones and illumination lights for, keeping them up there at night beforehand, and just 2 or 3 of them, I would volunteer to install them. I don't know.
we have.
I think we have a volunteer. I think we have an idea. I have no problem with that.
Said the magic word.
You did.
Uh-oh.
Should we
You
do
did.
the thing?
You-
That'd
Whether
be
or not you
great.
know it, you raised your hand.
No, they just stake in like.
Yeah, that's fine. They stake in, you know where they are. You can talk to Paul. I don't,
Okay.
so you know where we normally stand and present. Work with DPW or Paul, or usually we have a podium magically appears. I don't know how.
Just check with code enforcement, make sure there's no wires, dig safe, and I just wanna,
Yeah, please
or-
don't light yourself up while you're doing it.
yeah, I think that would not go over big being, in that fast field.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So, all right, yeah, thank you, Lynn. We appreciate it. That would be
Okay.
great. Any other comments, questions, Steve? Yes.
What kind of policy change do we need to make to get all of the employment agreements posted on the website, like the CBAs?
That's out of my pay grade. Joe,
Well,
what do we,
No, this is.
I mean,
this
do we
is the
need, do we
board.
need a motion?
No, you don't. If the board has a consensus, wants to see them up on the website, you can put them up on the website.
Honestly, I thought it was public information. It was.
It is.
I can't say.
Anyone can request a copy.
Okay.
Do most towns have it on their website?
50/50.
50/50.
Some do, some don't.
What are the what are the pros and cons to having them up there, Steve, from finance committee's perspective?
Just that it's public, the CBAs are out there, so we have employment agreements that some of the taxpayers, residents don't know we have. This just makes it that it's there instead of having to ask for it.
Like which ones?
There are 7, I think, employment contracts in town. Town manager, finance director, HR director, police chief, fire chief, public safety director.
HR.
He said that.
Yeah, I mean, my take is if it's public information and someone's interested in, just put it up there.
I think so, because then it's easier than making a formal
It's
request.
just put it up, right, exactly.
Looks like, it looks like it's unanimous. If you can get them put up, Joe, we appreciate it.
Exactly.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, any other public comment, questions?
Russ, did you want to say something?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You,
I'm here on behalf of the Upton's Veterans Council.
Yes.
We have Memorial Day ceremony coming up, May 22nd. I'm here to invite you all to the ceremony where we're going to honor all Upton veterans, especially the ones that didn't come back.
We will be there.
And I have scheduled for you, all right? I'll leave you all with the schedule.
Yes, please.
We're gonna have
They're not being there.
a parade,
We'll be in the parade.
okay? All right.
time.
We've got to work on getting them back.
Madam Chair.
Sure, I can Amazon. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Russell Wood. Sorry.
I'll give you some
We
more
forget Sue that you don't.
Thank you
know.
very much.
Thanks for coming, Russ. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you Memorial Day. Hope it doesn't rain.
Memorial Day.
Thank you. Yes, let's hope for good weather. Any other public comment, questions? No, I don't see anybody. Someday I'll get the glasses fixed. I don't see any hands online. Does anybody? Okay. All right. Licensing, Upton Men's Club, 1-day beer and wine license. Hi, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Could you state your name for the record?
Yep.
I'm sorry, it's been my fault. I forget Sue doesn't know who it was.
Not a problem. Matt Ronzio, 90 Mendon Street, Upton. On the board of directors, also co-chair of the cornhole tournament we've been doing the last 3 years. So happy to announce this year, we're moving from Kiwanis over to BVT with more parking and better accessibility. So, and as part of the tournament, we've been, cooking food, getting a food permit, but also serving alcohol. So hence the request. We've already asked Chief for his approval and submitted that application. Jenny DiDio is the bartender from the Rose Garden that we're using her bartender certification for as well. She's worked the event the last 3 years as well.
Like your motion? Any questions? My apologies.
None. I move that the select board vote to approve the application submitted by Upton Men's Club for a special 1-day all alcohol pouring license for the UMC 4th annual cornhole tournament event to be held on June 7th, 2025 under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, to be held at Blackstone Valley Regional Vocational Technical High School, 65 Pleasant Street, Upton, Mass.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Congratulations. I'm glad it's grown.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Review of draft amendments to budget transfer policy.
Got it.
Stephen Paul, do you have something?
Yes, employment contract.
Yes, okay. Well,
And, sorry, Stephen, Paul, you have the one that's with Penny's comment?
Yes.
Okay.
who's up? Who wants to present?
I don't think so.
So we have one committee on teams. I can kick it off for both. A couple months ago now, when we were going through the budgetary process and we had the discussion about recreation, there was discussion as far as the way that the budget was set up by approving categories that the current policy allowed for movement in between. We had a discussion as far as, well, we should separate that out so that the finance director would document and specify and memorialize say transfers that were within the department that went from expenses to wages or vice versa, and that if those occurred within the same department, that would be a procedure. And then if you needed to do year-end transfers from a different budget line, that formally required approval from finance committee and select board. So here's in the track changes is first edits that I had proposed in the blue color are some comments from that Steve provided. And then in reviewing things with Kenny in advance with the meeting tonight, he'd inquired about moving one of the sections that Steve had proposed, and it's the second comment on the back side, up to the area above that I identified as comment 1. But I think the other changes pretty much are in line with what we had discussed. So where things were last left was FinCom asked an opportunity to review and meet with the select board to finalize so we can all be on one page.
No, I think what's here is doing what we had requested and gets us back to having transparency for any transfers between wages, expenses, departments. So the only thing that I was adding at the below was it seemed like when we were talking about it, that we were gonna make Kenny or whoever do 2 reports, one that needs to be approved and one for information. If we're just saying we just want, for efficiency, we just want one that shows everything. And if we have to vote certain ones, then we'll have to decipher that and can separate it. But
yeah,
we're all looking for one report. If we get one report and then 2 weeks later we have another transfer, then there could be a second report. That's what we've done in the past, but we're not looking for separation.
We're trying to simplify it as well. We're working with department heads. This is the time that people start paying attention, looking and projecting and giving Kenny a heads up. That way we want to be able to be efficient with the board's time as well, presenting things all together. So I think we're really all on the same page. The benefit here is that it's memorialized. So going forward, you have changes in staff, you have changes in FinCom and select board. We at least have it memorialized as far as.
Okay. Paul, are you good with us as well?
I'm very illuminated, but again, it's really not doing anything different from what we're already doing. We just put
Memorialize
this
it?
other step in.
We like to memorialize it.
You gotta remember, before you got involved in town government, you had these year-end transfers, you had to go to a special town meeting to do it. I mean, if it was $100, $50, you had to go to a special town meeting. And then 11, 12 years ago, they come up with this idea. It was approval of I think it says, approval of the Board of Selectmen and concurrence of the Finance Committee. Something to that, words to that effect, which made it much easier.
Yes.
Do we ever use the reserve fund for anything?
We haven't in a couple of years,
I mean, that's for unforeseen expenses.
sudden and unforeseen expenses. Sudden and unforeseen expenses.
You just do that instead of going through all these.
Because not a sudden, what classifies as a sudden unforeseen expense? You blow
Because they
the
rented
water heater at the police station, that's a sudden and unforeseen expense to me.
And then that's what the reserve fund's for.
Yeah, but these are transfers within, because of somebody. You want to do a transfer for the reserve fund, you gotta go fill out a big form and present it to the finance committee. Okay. Or even trying to make things easier, you know?
That can be done during the year.
What's that?
Fill out the form to the finance committee,
Right.
take care of it then,
Right.
instead of doing all this at the end of the year.
Prove to me that it's a sudden and unforeseen expense.
Well, at least they could try. Right?
This is probably easier. I think this
Okay.
transfer of appropriation is probably easier.
Think,
You guys are the finance expert.
That's scary, huh?
Well,
credit of me, believe me.
We all know our strengths and weaknesses. You put a spreadsheet in front of me, my eyes glaze over. Any more questions?
Nope, works for me.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to amend the finance policy 1.06 entitled Expenses, Reclassifications and Budget Transfer.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, Historical Society use of the front floor of Racine.
Here you go.
Thank you.
And just state your name for the record.
Linda Gett, 9 Fowler Street.
Thank you.
Food shop first,
Excuse me?
food shop first, or the other? Food shop is an extension of the date, use date for
Okay,
the
we can do the boot shop first.
The boot shop request is in conjunction with restoring the boot shop. I've had, someone come in and identify all the boot making tools, which there were a few compared to the blacksmithing tools. So, I have a very large job of identifying all the blacksmithing tools, labeling them. Could get an extension on the use of that small room at the rear of the old library.
I'm
I'm
the old Board of Health.
the one that's down below.
The Board of Health was forever.
Oh, I thought it was upstairs. Oh, I mean, up on in the back door. Well, anyway, I did find a blacksmith and, someone who's, yes, really excited about, working with me. And, so, that looks like it's gonna be pro bono, which is really great. And, hopefully I'll have them come in and do a workshop in the fall as well. So I'm good. If you guys are good, I think June 15th is a fair,
June 15th.
June 15th, yeah. And I hope it is. I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Is it just as easy to do it through June 30th? Just
The longer you can give me, the better. I'm meeting with him tomorrow, so that I'll have a better sense of his availability.
Yeah.
It's a big job. There's a lot of tools.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That would be roughly a month and a half,
Yeah,
you know.
If
We
I'm
could
not
say
in the
July
way-
1st. It, you know, that way gets you through the end of June. I have no idea what day of the week July 1st is, but you know, something good, something simple. I would
Yeah.
be.
that would be great.
Comments?
That's why I didn't turn Dave, because
Yeah.
I wanted this discussion to sort of say, well, what leeway should
Right,
Or the merrier.
yeah, that's, you know, it makes sense. to
As
set
the better.
30 days. So July 1st is a Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And you can always come back.
I'll keep you posted. I can't imagine it would go longer than that. He seems really excited.
Do you want to do the motion first on the boot shop and then we'll keep moving?
That's the
Do you see
first
it?
one, right?
Yes.
I move that the board vote to amend its February 11th, 2025 vote to allow the Historical Society to use a portion of the first floor of the Racine building for cataloging, boot-making tools, and blacksmithing tools, and extend the date to use space through July 1st, 2025.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next. Use the first floor of the Racine. Are you going to take that too?
Well,
I see other members here. I don't know.
what'd you say?
I said, I see other members. I don't know who's moving forward on it. Just,
Well, I'm happy and here to answer any questions you might have after just being on that lower level. I did make some comments to get in front of you and really tried to lighten the load in terms of documents. But did everyone see the map, the floor plan? Yeah, I set a floor plan of from when they did the earlier study before the library moved out. They had done just kind of rudimentary, this is what the second floor looks like, these are the rooms. And the rooms are labeled as to who, uses them. So I included that and just reiterated like Historical Society, where we are then, and Cable and Historic Commission, and then where the library used to be. And what was in there now, furniture, storage, whatever. Not ours, we need every precious inch, but everyone else has their rooms and they done with them what they want. But
the second drawing is separate from the lower level, retaining space on the second floor for all the administrative purposes, of which there are quite a few, completely separate from the museum. And I have pictures. This is what it looks now. This is where, in our vision, we have hoped it could go. I can illustrate both those things here with pictures so that you can get a sense of like, the museum would not resemble what you have come to know. It would be significantly different. It would be elevated. It would look like a museum that you would see other than at a historical society it's been tucked in a corner somewhere, i.e. all of our neighbors. And reasons for doing that, I have obviously a lot of additional. But so what I wanted to do was get in front of you, appreciate it, and your interest in just even having this preliminary conversation. I'm here to answer questions. And the only other thing I would just want to make sure, I guess, that we all are on the same page around is that we will be so excited to have an opportunity to talk with you more about museum downstairs. But realistically, we are bursting at the seams. We have so much work that we do around preservation, cataloging. It's the administrative aspect of what the society does is significant. We have quite a few artifacts. We're very lucky to have the collection that we do, but it does, just managing that is really takes over that whole large room upstairs. And there's just a small room next to it that we.
I think our goal, you know, when we were in there, and this all came about because of the Shortner Ground Club.
Yes.
And we went in because we were concerned about the weather. And we couldn't have, in, is it 10 years? We're coming up on our 300th anniversary. And to me, when I went into the first floor of the library, which is no longer being used, it makes no sense because we have no handicap access to second floor. So people who want to cannot go see the museum. You know, if you're handicapped, it's inaccessible. So Mike Antonellis, Joe, John H. Chu, I was there, you were there, Scott was there. We looked at the first floor and said, we should move the museum down. We weren't talking about moving all the administrative parts of it, you know, but if we move everything down on the first floor, we have the ramp, it's accessible. We are looking into, the town is looking into a mod grant to modify the bathrooms so they're handicap accessible. But that way the general public can get in and enjoy the museum and see Upton's rich history before we celebrate our 300th very shortly, because that will be here before we know it.
Yes.
So that's what this is for tonight, is to see, because what we'll do is if we agree to move the historical museum, we're saying the society, but it's really the museum downstairs. The public doesn't need access to administrative office, so that can stay upstairs. And actually, if you look at the library, there's 3 or 4 stairs and there's a room when you come in to the left. That can be administration as well, because the public doesn't need access to administration. So we'd like to move it down, but then we would need to, you know, classify all of the old library shelves, of which there are multiple ones, as excess. And then, you know, so this is the first step in that process.
Yes, I understand that. So, and there's actually quite a bit, as long, if you're inventorying, really the entire attic is filled with things that would also require.
But we're not doing the whole attic. Right
Just
now,
doing-
we're cleaning the
Perfect.
bottom space.
Perfect.
So
I'm
we
thinking
can-
of efficiency for you guys, but that isn't what it is actually.
Well, unfortunately,
The result is less than efficient.
Linda, can I just say, I tell a lot of people, like, government, it doesn't move as slow as a snail. It moves as slow as a drunken sail, because it makes circles and loops and everything else. And
Well,
unfortunately,
we
the word
appreciate-
efficiency and municipalities do not always coincide harmoniously together.
Well, we appreciate, you know, we have a new board coming in, actually, wanted to invite you guys to the picnic. It's our 57th annual meeting / social gathering. It's at Kiwanis. It's at 11:30 on Saturday, and it's potluck, but you don't have to bring anything. We do sandwiches and potluck desserts and stuff like that, but it's at the pavilion at 11:30, just till 1. We have about a 5-minute meeting at the beginning just to vote on the slate. And we're really excited that Scott's coming into the fold. It's just his I just drove around with him the other day. My ears hurt. He knew every house. He knew foundations that weren't there anymore. It was crazy. So however we can, support your moving forward and, we thought of a lot of the different elements like you're talking about, the space up the steps. Kind of thing. So.
Do I hear a motion? Do we need a motion, Joe?
So I think one of the questions, I think there's some logistic things that we're gonna
Yes.
have to sort of detail, including there's
Okay.
some things that I think we first, as you said, I am having Michael and John issue look into the bathroom improvements and applying to the bond grant for funding for those improvements. I'm also asking them to look at some of the improvements that are needed to the Ramsey building. So then they'll probably get in touch if they haven't already.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, that's a mid-June deadline, so we're trying to pull things together. And that's one of those first elements, that knowing what's required for code, so we can get those all set, and then look at see, because we already have approval from town meeting to lease the space just legally because they're not the town board, then finalizing that process of what's needed to. At this time, I don't think there would need to be a motion. If there's a consensus that, hey, we're all on the same page, we want to make this happen, that's enough for me to get things.
I'm obviously good with it.
I'm supportive.
Okay, looks like you have consensus to get it rolling.
Thank you. I'm just gonna give these because it's okay. Even more excited when you're at home. Like more stuff to do besides what I did like. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
These are just pictures of what we look like now and with your blessing, where we're headed.
Next Saturday. That's the picnic is gonna, is
It's this Saturday, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcia. Yes, it's this Saturday.
I know.
Any other questions? I mean, about,
Does anyone have any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, thank you for coming. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
thank you
See you.
so much.
Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Next is meeting with Historical Commission on ceasing sale of cemetery plots at Radish and Pine Grove.
We're actually gonna have a historical commission meeting, so I think we need to take a vote to initiate the meeting. So I'll make a motion to initiate the historical commission meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't have performance.
Russ? Back there too. So yes, we were interested in discussing with the select board about creating a memorandum of understanding for ceasing sales of cemetery plots for the Radish Cemetery and the Pine Grove Cemetery due to the historical nature of the cemeteries. So we just wanted to just kind of informally discuss what the best process would be for going forward with the creation of a memorandum. We had put forth a bylaw, but the way the bylaw was structured, it included including maintenance of the cemetery, and I think the DPW will be actually doing the maintenance for the cemetery. So we had withdrawn that during town meeting, but and Joe had suggested that we instead create a memorandum of understanding between the select board, the historical commission, DPW, and the cemetery commission about ceasing any further sales. If there are plots that have been sold already, then burials can take place in those cemeteries, but any further sales we'd like to cease just because of the historical nature of these two cemeteries and Upton.
Questions, comments?
No, it looks good based on what we talked about.
Yeah, I think it's also important to add that we crafted the warrant article based on a 1981 warrant article that did what we are trying to do now with First Cemetery.
Okay.
And I was reminded by Dennis that the DPW didn't exist in 1981. So therefore, the language that may have been appropriate then was not appropriate now. I think further thought that we've had since is that what we're really trying to prevent is the placement of any type of modern marker in either one of these cemeteries. Over and above just selling lots. We don't want the historical appearance of them altered. I think that's what caused our concern in the first place. So it would be A, no further selling of lots, but B, no further placement of markers that aren't in accordance with the historical nature of both. And I say that because it is potentially possible that a lot owner might want to place another marker for his family in the future on lots that were sold recently at one of those cemeteries.
And I think that was our concern when you came before us and when we found that there was somebody brownish recently.
So I think it's the language that we used is what needs to be delicately crafted so that all parties are in support of it.
I agree, and DPWs are taking over the cemeteries. And that was voted. I agree. I think we're all in agreement. I think and when Maureen and I were there for consolidated, you can see where it was. That was why it was being removed. You know.
As far as the mechanism, because of the DPW Act and understanding that there's a difference between the DPW Act and what it details and maybe doing, as or mentioned, that is transitioning. Dennis's phone, he takes all the calls, all of the local monument places, funeral homes, noted all DPW now. Dennis and I are asking to be on cemetery commission's next agenda to go over policies and conflicts between their existing policies and procedures and the DPW Act. That really specifies exactly what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
I think part of that will facilitate what we're talking about. An MOA to just memorialize both his historical commission and the select board that we aren't going to sell any more lots. That's going to be easy. That's going to be quick. It's an easy one. It may take a little bit more work to work with Craig and Ed as far as identifying standards, because those are things that then Dennis is able to sort of adopt as part of policies for anything that. So I sort of divorce those two because we can get the sale taken care of at the next meeting. That's going to be straightforward because it really is just a directive that the select board, as the executive board, is hereby directing no further sales at those two cemeteries. That's going to be easy.
Right.
It's really those other standards.
And if I recall correctly, last time you came in and said there is a company that can create slate and stuff similar to what is there. So if we can put that language in other words, if somebody comes along and says, wow, you can't read my family's stone anymore, it's just disintegrated, we would have a standard and say, well, it needs to be slate, it needs to be this, for example, like this, list the company or any other similar there too. That may take, the more detail you put, the less issues we're gonna have.
I'm actually engaged right now have been for the last year with a full documentation of and a restoration of First Cemetery.
Nice.
Which we have numerous damaged stones. In the last week, I've contacted 2 stone carving companies. And I'm getting feedback that there is a granite, actually went and looked at it yesterday, down at Whitensville Monument, a dull gray granite that will look like the slate stones, but be cheaper and stronger.
Nice.
So it's
If we can put those type of guidelines in, when we craft the second part of it, I think in the long run, it would be better for all.
I think in the next few months, we'll have a better understanding of what that is, what's possible, but we can create language that documents what we want to see in those cemeteries in case some family decides they want to replace something.
Exactly. And then they're not saying, well, I need a stone. I want to know where my family is. We can say that's, but you have to do granite or slate, and these are the approved types, right down to width,
I
height.
just have a clarifying question. So I just want to be clear that Dennis, like, we're not selling any more lots. You don't need anything else from the board. That's clear. It's
That's
now it's in
actually
place.
implemented between Dennis and I, we're not doing it.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It's,
Wanna make sure.
This is,
Okay.
there's different levels.
Right.
One, the board could take a formal motion that we don't.
Yeah.
That vote is just recorded with the town clerk, and we don't have to do it. we can do an MOA that then more is more memorializes it for the future, because then it's something that is maybe a little bit more discoverable 20 years down the
Right,
road.
right. We want to
when
make sure
everyone's
that someone doesn't come in and
Right.
the DPW director comes in and unknowingly starts selling off these lots without realizing.
Exactly.
We gotta
Well,
make
that's
sure
the concern that Craig and I are partly raising is that Dennis could leave, Joe could leave, and you guys could leave, and do we have the same agreement 5 years from now?
So,
So is the MOA more binding than a vote?
well, it's not. They have the same, but it's about that discoverability, that paper trail.
So you're gonna bring that to us at the next meeting? Is that
Yep.
what's
Yeah,
happening?
because this is gonna be
Okay.
3/4 of the page.
Okay.
It's not gonna be that.
That
Great.
works.
So we're good in the short run and we're gonna get it memorialized for the long run.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate
You're
your time.
welcome.
And I spoke with Dennis myself 2 days ago, and he says, I'm not selling any lots of those 2 cemeteries.
Yes. Yes, he was not amused either.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Great.
thank you
All right,
both
thank
very
you.
much for your work.
Next up is meeting with Mosquito and Tick Control Board to discuss funding for educational purposes. If you could take a moment and state your name clearly for the record.
And Marcella Spencer, North Street. Lisa Granada, Mendon Street. Thank you. So, the request for funding is a two-parter. So, the first one is, the discussion we tabled way back when, regarding, distributing lawn signs to people who would like to, put out something that says that they, are going pesticide-free to protect pollinators. And we have I'm sorry, my printer wasn't happening, but if there's some way you
I remember seeing that previously.
Yeah,
So we've modified it a little bit, though I think the language is a little clearer. And we added the QR code, which takes you to the town website, the Mosquito and Tick Control page. And there we'll have more information about how people can do their, do something pesticide-free on their lawns and how they can protect themselves against ticks and mosquitoes, rather than doing broad spraying, which the town need not to do. So we're wanting to educate people about it. So it was tabled in part because we were looking to get funding from another source. And the Friends of Upton State Forests have agreed to contribute $200 to making up of 100 lawn signs. And that's half the cost. It's about, and by the time it's shipping, it gets added in, it'll be about $400. So we're requesting the balance from the town if we go forward with that. Part two of the request for funding is to bring in a speaker. Her name is Joy Marsoff, and she's a fabulous speaker. I don't know if anybody has ever seen. She does nature talks, and she does them on just about every topic you can think of. Like there's pictures on our website of the snake, and there's other pictures that just show the diversity of what she is presenting. And her, she has offered to develop a program specifically to our concerns about tick and mosquito control and management, and also in a way that we don't have to use pesticides. She's got a lot of great information about how to encourage other types of insects that eat mosquito larvae, and there's a whole host of information about how ticks are managed by. Anyhow, if we want to invite her, the cost for one lecture is
$230, but she will do two. The cost breakdown is $185 per talk. So that you double that, which math is not my strong suit, but it is somewhere in the 300 something range. So either one, it would be nice to do a two-parter because we could do one that's more geared towards kids, and we could do an adult program that's more.
Is this the one that spoke last year at the community center?
Yeah, she did do a program about pollinators last year. Is that the one you're thinking?
I don't know, because is her last name Vescera?
No, last name is Marzov.
Oh, okay. No, because mosquitoes and ticks fall under Board of Health, and as you know, I'm also on the Board of Health. I asked Diane if I knew you were coming tonight, and I'm like, Mass Fish and Game, do people do free talks on, exactly this subject? And she reached out to a couple of people, and the people that do it for free, we don't belong. The Mass Mosquito Program will speak for free, but we're not we voted out, so they will not
Right.
come for free. But this woman does do this, Deborah Becerra out of Northbridge. She does do a Bite Lab. It's tick mosquito education. She will speak for free.
Oh, she will.
She will, yes. She said, and I can forward this, it just came in late. It says it's geared towards children, but she can show the exhibit to adults. She said that they did a presentation at the Upton Senior Center last year.
Okay,
So I wasn't aware either, but I figured, why recreate? So if you want to start with something like that, I don't know what the difference is between what she presents and what your speaker may present.
I did hear her, Laura, and she was great. And I think she's also tied into our nurse, our Upton Town nurse.
Yes, it's tied somehow to the Blackstone Valley Partnership for Public Health. Yes. So, because that's where we do, for example, if we do testing, the Board of Health goes through the Blackstone Valley Partnership for Health. So did you like her last year?
I thought she was good. Yeah, I think they were very different. So I could see doing all of them and doing a 3-part, which I think would be great too.
All right, so this would be like at the community center?
Yeah, and one nice thing about Joy is that she's willing to cater the talk to what we want her to. She'll do the research, she'll develop a program, and she's also very entertaining. Especially with kids. She just has a nice sense of humor. So she doesn't make it a big scary
right
thing. So in any case, I would certainly consider bringing other people in. So the more the merrier. One thing, I did speak with a couple of people on the board of the Friends of Upton State Forest, and they were very enthusiastic about bringing Joy in and sharing the costs. So this again would be the town would pay for half if they are willing. So either each entity would take on $185 for 2 programs, or we split the 230 and contribute 115 and just have the one program.
My math is not spectacular either, but I would think the 2 at 185 each would be a bonus. The more information you can get out. I like the idea of the speakers. It's not recreating. We do have mosquito and tick information on the Board of Health website, but it's like every holiday people go, should I put my trash? It is on the website. We don't know how to get people to look at the website, but it is on the website. So
this barcode, the mosquito tick control page is like a side page of the Board of Health. So, hopefully people will.
No, I don't know that nothing, our website
But
is
you're right.
so far,
My,
but
I mean, mine, again, this is right, just sort of what we're here to talk about.
Yes.
But like, my take on this is it's such short money, like just do it and let's go, move on.
okay, I'm fine
Like
with
that.
speakers.
We just
I have a
spent $30
first
million on our schools.
I know. Well, it depends on how many votes tonight, or today. I have no problem with the speakers. The yard signs, we have all sorts of bylaws about like political signs can only be up for 30 days. Personally, I hesitate to wander into where the town is paying for yard signs when we, honestly, contractors and everyone else are asked to remove their signs. I don't know if that sets a precedent. That's my concern by both paying for them and then I assume they'd be up most of the summer, which would be beyond the 30 days. When I ran for office, literally the day after the election, there were people calling, demanding, and I'm like, I'm moving. I put out 225 signs. I'm moving as fast as I can.
Yeah. And that's.
But so that's my concern about the signs, especially if we pay for them. I mean, if people want signs and put them up. Because there have been incidents in the past where, like I said, contractor signs come down and people complain. And we do have a bylaw, no more than 30 days. I know it's for political signs. I don't know if it's for all signs, but signs are a very touchy subject.
Yeah, and there's like the whole freedom of speech.
There is. I just.
You're treading on.
It is. It's you think it's simple and then you wade into it and you realize that there's just bombs going off.
You drive
everywhere.
around and you see how many signs are out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like if you buy a red car, next thing you know, all you see is red cars.
Wants out to recruit fire people to be
Yes.
on-call firefighters. We've
But
done
I
this for a long
don't
time.
think the town, I don't mind if you put signs out, but I worry if the town funds the signs. That's my own
It's an
personal.
understandable concern, but if we were to say order half the number of signs and the Friends of Upton State Forest is still interested in contributing $200, then that would be okay, as long as people
And-
take them down.
honestly,
within
I think Brett's right. We could pay 185 times 2, which it's pretty pitiful that I think I need a calculator. It's 10, 6, 7, that's $270 if I'm doing it right. 370. That's what happens tomorrow after working
I know,
hours all day long.
I hate to call it girl math, but yes, girl math.
Yeah, so I mean, I have no problem for the board paying for the $370 for the speakers, and then they offered a donation. Let the friends see if they'll light kind for the signs.
Okay, and with the signs, given that it is, that the town isn't paying for, but do you have an issue with the QR code taking them to a town website with
No,
more information?
I personally don't. I think it's a great way to get maybe people to the website.
Yeah.
Right,
But
find a resource that's already there and take advantage of it.
Exactly.
And a lot of great information on there about prevention and
Yes.
managing.
Yes. Yes, so that would be my suggestion, is that the board pay $370 for speakers and you guys can throw across the signs. And I think it's great. It's directed to the town. The more we can direct people to the website, and we
Yeah.
don't have a local, we don't have a newspaper. We don't have a local.
What's
newspaper.
the best funding source?
Well, it really depends on what you want to do. I can either try to find money within select its budget when you're talking about less than $400. It's really not much.
Yeah.
The only other funding source, which would be a trust fund, is no, that's just for general governmental purposes to support that. So
I think if we can find it in the select board's budget.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, what do you need?
no, I was thinking I can just let you a copy.
Do we need?
No, I mean, that's where it's low enough that I can.
Okay.
Okay, do you want me to make a motion? It's here. Yeah.
Or modify, yeah.
So I move that the board vote to approve the expenditure of $370 from the select board's budget for the purpose of funding mosquito control board proposed speakers. The cost for the, for the cost of guest speakers as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Very much.
One
Could I
other,
mention one thing really,
Sure.
really quickly, and this is not, I don't want to take up too much of
No.
your time, but we're also on our group, we're also very concerned, as a lot of folks are, about the amount of litter that we're seeing along the sides of the road. On Benjamin Street, I tried to pick it up, but to get up one day and in fact the next. From our perspective, and this goes with Board of Health as well, the water and standing tires and the cups is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So there's a group called Keep Massachusetts Beautiful, which is a group, currently they have about 20 different towns and they're adding more towns constantly. They're a resource group. They also have monies for scholarships and awards. And our group would like to look into possibly talking with them and seeing if we could do a Keep Upton Beautiful. So just wanted to present that to you all, nothing to vote on or anything, but we just wanted to let you all know to kind of, and any folks watching, and but we're excited about that.
So
They're a good resource
do
group.
your research, come forward with a proposal, talk to Joe
Okay,
and Stu, and we'll put you on an agenda.
Okay, great, because we'd love to get your support and the Board of Health support.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next up is a review of the town council selection process.
So, the board received electronic copies of two proposals for legal town council services. Brad. Out.
Yep.
Or last Friday. So basically within the RFP, there's also criteria there. One of the things that really is open to us is developing our so that's one of the things to discuss with the board. I did confirm with both firms, they are available for use on May 27th. That's 2 weeks from tonight. We can easily just receive any questions you may want to ask. We can consolidate, share with them out, staff can also look and provide some questions for consideration. And we can always just review what we may want to include. They're going to pretty much go through their regular sort of proposal presentation, identifying the highlights, really also speaking to a lot of things within the RFP. And this RFP was based off of a number of other RFPs because everyone is sort of asking a lot of the same questions of their town council. So just wanted to get the board's input as far as, one, confirming the 27th. They both know that we were meeting tonight and that I was going to be confirming that night for the interviews. Have it basically at 6:30 and then again 7:30. These types of discussions figure on having about 45 minutes anyways, and then we can discuss other, and if things go faster, we just take some of the things later in the agenda.
Okay.
So
I had a question, in reading the proposals, how have we been paying KP in the past? Is it hourly? Is it a set monthly rate?
it's hourly based on a set per hour rate, depending on the attorney. And if it's clerical work, we'll get invoiced for that work. If it's the junior associate, we'll get a different rate. And then if it's some of the work principals, we'll get their rate. So it is a set rate versus some, we'll submit a proposal, a monthly amount that almost, gives you some amount of hours and then either a portion of or above that certain amount, then you pay extra. You had two different proposal processes that were submitted by each of them.
Right, and how many hours on average do we? I know it's hard to tell, but do we have an average of hours?
With the hours is the tough thing. I know from, but we looking back at
Or
the last
what
5 years, right,
What
At the
that
last-
cost been?
at the last five, over the last 5 years, we've been budgeting $82,000. On average, we are turning back about $25 to $30,000. So we're in that $50,000 range. We may have a little bit of a blip, but then it basically on average, looking at the last 5, I'd say it's in that 50 to 55 range. That's where we're actually trying.
Okay.
One of the flat fee,
Yes.
and that's monthly plus the hours on top of it. And
That's-
there's certain things that are flat fee.
And that's where, that's a good opportunity to ask more about that. You know, if it's a bread and butter type thing, like for example, land use, that is a very often, you know, if you're on the phone talking with someone for half an hour, they may do an hour's worth of research and they get back to you. Finding out what that covers and what doesn't, that's going to be
Well, I think they
important.
had that in here too, like licensing that the selectmen do, contracts, annual town meeting. Anything above that.
Yeah, so like, for example, we were paying, I wasn't pleased to with KP. When at town meeting, I said there was no motion, and I asked Brian, and his answer was, we'll have to review the video. And I was like, no, we're live and in the moment, I want an answer. And they have since offered an answer. There was no motion made on the consent calendar. And I knew it because I had the card in front of me and I didn't read it. And I was told I was wrong, and it's not my meeting, it's Dave's meeting, and I deferred to Brian and looked up from his phone. Was, oh, we'll just review the video. And then we had a determination whether or not a vote was actually taken after it, but it could have cost us another special town meeting, which is an exorbitant cost and inconvenience for the town when you're sitting right there and you didn't answer. So I just fix it right there. Yeah, we could have fixed it. All he had to do was call a point over.
Well, maybe they know that we're going through this process, so he was less engaged than he might otherwise be.
Maybe, but yeah, that's gonna be one of my questions. But yeah, so, you know, I wasn't sure how we were paying KP, if it was a flat rate. You know, I know it's budgeted each year. I wasn't quite sure what the average was, and that was my question as I was looking through the proposals in order to make a determination.
I mean, one of them talked about doing it on a retaining basis.
Have to look at them.
Yeah.
The presentations were nice.
Yeah.
I need the paper.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Joe, can I give you something and then I'll scoot?
Yeah.
You guys are getting into it. This is a picture that I don't think you guys saw of the lift that I talked about.
Got these.
Okay, good. So since you mentioned the mod, that might be something that can be built into that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you want us to come up with, kind of, put our heads together and send questions, or?
If that's something
just-
that the board would like, you can also, I mean, just, you know, sort of like HR, if you're asking one firm a question, you want to be able to ask it. It's the easy way to
Sure.
at least keep track of things. And, you know, if they all of a sudden run through in 20 minutes and then we're left twiddling our thumbs, that could be a sign. But I think we should be able to have some questions, but it's really posing the questions. I've gone through it both ways, where a board has interviewed town council and it's like, okay, we got your presentation, we're all set. And others that then have had more questions that sort of get in a little bit more detail, you know, like, hey, you're presented with this on town meeting, how you approach it.
Right.
So looking for the board's feedback as far as what you would like to do, and it's always something that, you know, we're able to have a set of questions, and you know, on the fly, we can decide whether or not, you know, we need to go through.
What do you guys feel?
Yeah, I think that we should be able to pose some questions. There's nothing there to ask.
So we'll just send questions to you.
And just to me, and then I'll consolidate them and send them back out.
Send it back to us now for edits.
Yeah.
That works. On to the next, are we good?
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Annual evaluation process.
Exactly. So how this process has traditionally happened is that HR would send the board an email with a form to fill out with different evaluation criteria. Town manager would also then submit to the board as a reference point, sort of a self-evaluation. Then we just schedule a meeting for that evaluation to give the board enough time. I recommend, the June 3rd meeting, maybe for a deadline to get through. We're not under any sort of pressing deadline. So there's no reason to try to rush through in the next 2 weeks. So that's how the process would occur.
Questions, comments?
Works for me.
Okay, works for me. Boy, look at us cruise.
Yep.
All right, discussion of future meeting topics.
And now we grind you home. Yes. So with the focus on the budget in town meeting, there's a number of things that sort of, we kept in the back of our head on the staff level. It's been a while since we brought these. Sue's been doing great work in trying to make sense of our appointment process. Anyone that comes in from different towns, each town does things differently. And she's working with the town clerk's office to make sure everything's all set. So we have that process, which typically happens the first and second meeting of the month for board. Also talking about goal settings for the next year, talking about meeting schedule. I identified other items that, we had some initial discussions and wanting to make sure we close the loop with the board. Now that I've heard from MassDOT, I can at least start planning for a late September public meeting and thinking about logistics for that. We have the Heritage Day Committee request from the Historic Society. We basically said we'll try to see what other groups are out there. If the board wants to revisit that, put it on agenda. If we feel we've sort of given it over to others, then we don't have more discussion.
I know, Greg, you spoke to the men's club and they didn't have any willing bodies. I shot her around the world. I said to Scott Garland, I said, every student needs to do community service to graduate. I suggest you reach out to the Honor Society, the schools. We've got 2 schools here. You've got young kids with strong backs, and that's what we need to set it up. You can run and do all the vendors, and then that morning you can use a map, hand them the map, and tell them to set the column. And I said, and please be aware, we've always offered the town hall as an alternative in the rain. So he said he would. So I think he is taking over apparently this weekend, this Saturday. I can follow up with him and say, hey, look, there was some help requested. We don't see the need to create a formal committee. Your best bet is to reach out to the schools. Children, grandchildren, people walking down the street. Just like the police at the spaghetti dinner, they put all their kids to work.
Yes, they did.
So I think that may work. Our sign outside after last meeting.
Yeah.
Last time meeting last year, we decided to move forward with bids, and I know we got bids, and then I believe we earmarked funds to fix it.
We didn't take a formal vote, and what happened was that Bill, and I'm sorry, I'm just.
Andrews.
Bill Andrews had sort of offered to make a stand. I've been talking to him. I've given him the specifications. One of the things is really he has a new vehicle with the new siren.
That's why I was making that funny face. I'm like,
Kind of sounds
out
like
of town.
So One of the things from a simplicity standpoint, it's easier just to sort of take existing specs and then get things. This is now that town meeting's over, sort of is a good opportunity to revisit that on what exactly we do.
I would love to have a custom made sign, but if it's cheaper and easier in the long run to have a metal sign that looks traditional because it's everything sealed. I mean, I don't know what, you know, I don't know anything about the electronics and whichever works.
Where it would be from a management standpoint, it's simpler just to have it all one and done, and that a vendor is just responsible for doing all of it.
Including the
Install,
installation.
the electronics, taking care of that, rather than we would be sort of entering into a longer term agreement, like, okay, he does the superstructure, then we're getting an electrician, make sure that, and it falls on your acquiring a panel from a different company, verifying that warranty works when you have a private electrician doing the connection work. There's a lot more things to
like I said, I appreciate the thought, and this one didn't hold up because it is wood, it needs to be painted, it needs to be maintained. I think in the long run, if we just get, it's not gonna be flashy, it's not gonna be electronic, just an informational sign is what we talked about. And I thought we had some quotes, and I think they buy it, they make it, they install it, they warranty it. It's a one and done. I think it's easier, thank you, but if we're gonna start opening up, all of us know if you buy something, you get a part from here, and a part from there, and a part from there. Nobody covers it when it breaks.
So I can refresh that information and then to the next meeting.
I
Just
would
to
like that.
take action on that.
I would like that because going back to nobody knows what we're doing. I can offer for people to stand there and put the letters in one by one, but it's tedious. So I'd like to get that going. Okay.
We had talked about setting up a board meeting, getting all the boards committees to sort of talk about our piece and making sure that we're aligned. I have some of the other items, dog control bylaw amendments, discussing of those because come August 5th, we're opening the warrant back up. Earth removal, we just talked about that we really need to look at that bylaw. I have talked to Michael about maybe meeting with planning to talk about this because there is a sort of synergy between both boards being land use boards involving earth activities, us for removing it and they're approving projects, but they have the consultants in case we get into an issue where we really need. So there's different ways that can be done. Stay with the planning board, move things over to planning, having planning and Michael assist in drafting as well. So I just threw that out there as something potentially over the summer. And
It's come up a couple of times. And I don't know if you two are taking, I will be home this summer. I don't know if you two are taking time off. I'll be floating in the pool. That's as exotic as I'm gonna get. Just Brent, you.
Don't plan on vacation.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
You're gonna be,
third week of July, I'm gonna be away.
okay, that's fine. Because looking at this, I know it's brutal. Even in my work, it's hard to get people to do anything in July. July 4th is towards the end of the week, because I know the 1st, I believe, is a Tuesday. I think we just determined that, so. If we had a bump, like an extra meeting, July is useless, August is tough, but I'd like to try to scoot as many of these in as we can. We keep kicking it off, and the next thing you know, we go, oh my God, we're doing special town meeting, and then next thing you know, we're doing town meeting, annual town meeting.
Right.
And we
Stuck in a town meeting cycle.
Exactly, and, so if we can move, not that I want to, but I think if we can have a lot of these done sooner rather than later, it's middle of May, June is coming up quick, but I think if we can push some of these, reach out to people and find out, at least nail down a date, but before July would be preferable for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Especially like the earth removal bylaw, where it's 3 boards, or it's Lewis and it's planning and us and conservation. But that's been an issue that's been haunting us at a lot of meetings. So that to me would be at the top of the list. And, you know, I think it's Dennis and Mike Moran for the dog control, because Dennis talks about the parks. He has the experience in other towns. And, you know, some of the other stuff looks simple, but even the multi-board, try to pull it in before. So that would be my recommendation.
I'll sit down with you and sort of lay out a calendar.
Yeah, because I need paper. I need like,
Agree.
I'm looking at the digital one going, is that Sunday or Monday? So, you guys have any comments, questions, additions? Okay, we will be. Okay. So next is approval of executive session minutes for May 28th, June 4th, and June 8th.
So on that one, if there's any discussion, we do have executive session after, so unless they're all set, if the board wants to discuss, I just recommend passing over that and moving on to the others.
I'm fine with approving.
I'm fine with them.
I make a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes for May 28th, June 4th, and June 18th, 2024.
And I'll make a motion if everybody's good with the February 25th.
Yeah.
Brett, you good?
Yeah. I second that.
I move board vote to approve the meeting minutes of February 25th, 2025.
Are we voting these separately or doing them all together?
Yeah, I made a
Do you
motion.
want to do
You
it?
bet,
I made a motion on the first one.
Let's do,
You
can
want
I
to do
have
them
a
all
second?
together? Go.
You want to do them all? Do we have any issues with any of the meetings minutes listed in number 8? Because if we don't, I'll take a motion for everything.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Okay. I'll move that the board vote to approve the executive session minutes of May 28th, June 4th, and June 18th, 2024, February 25th, 2025, April 15th, 2025, and April 29th, 2025.
And April 19th, 2020.
April 19th, 2025. Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Look at that. You're welcome. Page 2.
Mhm.
I was like, we're done. All right, so, do I hear him? Oh, so do we end the regular meeting and go into executive session meeting?
Because you just approved the minutes, there's then nothing for executive session.
Then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous, 7:49.